All right. Episode one of it's the Tom's Town League now. I don't think it has a historical league name. League of Ordinary Gentlemen, I believe is what
Yes.
we initially had it named. Episode one of that. Like all writers, Tim and I have decided to not write this year and simply just talk about things because that's a lot easier than basically saying I'm going to sit in the same spot for 45 minutes and try and come up with jokes.
Well, yeah, the origin basically was we would do a phone call before making the power rankings, and the phone call would be what the power rankings are, and then we'd write them. So essentially, we're just cutting out the middleman, and you'll lose some quality GIF work, but we can maybe add some good post-production effects to amend that.
Yeah, I think we'll survive without as many GIFs this year. And Libby always provides it in his newsletter also. So, I mean, you'll get some.
Never enough.
All right. So, in this episode, we are going to focus on the draft, which happened Tuesday night of this week. Do you have any draft strategies going in?
My draft strategy was to not do what my other league did, and this is going to be a running joke, is my other league, because you always hate the guy who talks about his other league, and I'm going to be that guy. But my other league, I didn't spend my money right away, and I left a bunch of money on the table. So my only strategy was to not do that, and I think I succeeded there. How about you?
Wide receiver depth. I really wanted to at least have two of the top 8 wide receivers on my team. So jumped out pretty quick on that. I'll save talking about my team for later, but yeah, that was the strategy going in, was get 3 really solid wide receivers that are at least number 1 or number 2 on their team in targets. And then just try and fill in running back. I spent so much in running back last year and it burned me with McCaffrey that I just kind of got scared away and went completely opposite. I also was looking mobile quarterback, and that's why I ended up keeping Lance, who I probably way overpaid for. I think, well, according to a couple of the mocks that I did, about 11 bucks, 11, 10 bucks overpaid for him.
The QB, well, we're doing a draft recap. The QBs in our draft, that was a wild storyline, and I'm sure we'll get into it later for bests and worsts. But also in our league that has an extra wide receiver flex spot, I think wide receivers are just more valuable to draft in our league, I've found.
Yeah, I mean, putting a wide receiver in that flex position it's way better than trying to throw a second running back, and you're probably not getting one of the better, second string running backs like an AJ Dillon or a Tony Pollard, those type of guys where, if they're your flex, that's probably not that bad. But if you're looking at like Raheem Mostert in Miami, who's their second string running back, like I would rather have or take a flyer on a wide receiver that might luck into a touchdown or, 6 grabs, especially in half PPR. All he has to do is have, a couple of grabs, couple yards.
That's true.
And as long as you can get that 8 to 12 points out of that flex spot, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, wide receiver is the best way to do that.
I thought another thing that was interesting with this draft is it seemed like people were willing to pay extra for those like 3 premium tight ends.
Yeah,
Andrews went for like $40.
$40. Yep.
Kelsey, or does he want to be called Kels? I think he came out and said they've been mispronouncing his last name forever.
I wonder what Jason Kelsey has to say about that.
I don't know. I do not know.
Kittle went for $22. Kelsey,
which I think was a couple bucks over what he was valued at, maybe like 1 or 2.
Scrolling. Kelsey went for 38.
Yeah, 38. So we're looking at, probably your second wide receiver amount of dollars for those top tight ends. and it's probably going to end up being worth it, especially for the Mark Andrews. Unless you believe in Rashad Bateman, he's going to be the only one who can catch the ball.
It's three good tight ends and then it drops off. So you really have to spend a lot of money to get those top three.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the strategies that both of us kind of went in with. I think for the most part, people were trending more towards the norm. Like running backs went at about the dollar amounts that you thought. I think and this will transition nicely into our first best that we're going to get into. I think keepers is the huge part of the story, especially for this year. I think there was incredible value that a number of teams got, and players that were kept out of the draft that would have, depleted dollar amounts for some people as they kept getting bid up and up and up.
Yep.
So I have my personal best keeper, and then I've got a couple runners up. So
go for it.
All right. So my best keeper is Tom and Jamar Chase for $19.
Hard to argue with that one.
Sports Illustrated had him valued at $51. I think that's pretty standard with about what ESPN had him. I guarantee you, I paid $64 for Justin Jefferson. I guarantee you Jamar Chase would have been right around that number too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So we're talking about, over $30, well, almost $40 in value right there with Tom. $19, Jamar Chase, probably going to be a top 3 wide receiver this year.
Good on you, Tom.
All right. So you give your one, and then I can do some runners up.
I feel like this is the only time I'm going to pat myself on the back here, but Deebo Samuel for $11. I feel like I got pretty lucky there. I drafted him for $5 last year when he was a nobody, and he turned into a somebody. And getting him back for only $11, I think he goes for in the middle $40 to $50 range. So being able to lock in a wide receiver one spot for just $11. Jamar Chase is a good argument, but I feel like since I paid less for Deebo and they're both superstar wide receivers, I like mine better.
Yeah, you're not gonna like my rankings at the end.
Uh-oh.
Because I valued one of those players a lot higher than I valued the other. So a couple of runners up that I had. I don't know if you have any. You can add them if you want. Stephen Leonard Fournette, $15.
Yep.
Valued at 37 according to SI again. I think I even asked that night, had Leonard Fournette gone up, and was told that he was a keeper, because I was looking at him instead of Josh Jacobs as my kind of RB1 that I was going to be willing to overpay a little bit for. And I was very disappointed that night that Fournette got kept. And then when I saw what he got kept for, the dollar amount, that's a waiver wire pickup, $15.
Yeah. He was a nobody last year, and Stefan rolled the dice and paid off pretty nicely for him.
Yeah, he probably didn't even get drafted last year. If he did, it was for like nothing and got cut.
Yeah.
And there's no other running backs basically in Tampa Bay. He's going to get all the work, and Brady's back, and he's drop-off king.
Brady's back.
Brady's always back. And then Libby, Austin Eckler, $24, $55 value.
Yeah, we talk about, the cap on your keepers, however long of years you get to keep them, and I feel like he's going to hang on to Eckler for as long as he can, because that was a good steal.
Another one, obviously along the same vein as the Derrick Henry, I think, $26, or was he in the 30s?
He's going up a little higher. I don't have the number in front of me.
I think I get it. He had to keep him for 53, so that's That's pretty high. Yeah.
I think
Keep in
the other
mind.
notable one I had, because Ross is Cooper Cup for $36 is still a bargain.
Yeah, that's another one that, just like the Jamar Chase argument, that if Justin Jefferson went for $64, Cooper Cup is going to be right there.
Yep, Ross.
Nobody believes in the white wide receiver like Ross. All right, moving on to the steal of the draft. Again, I have my one pick and then a
I think we're
couple
gonna say the same thing.
of runners up. All right, you go first this time. I thought that I deviated a little bit just so that we didn't pick the same one, but
Okay.
since you think we picked the same one, now I'm more wary that we did.
Okay. Well, it's Patrick Mahomes for $9. Um,
Of course, it's Patrick Mahomes for $9.
how
He
could it not
snuck
be?
it.
Yeah, and like you look at what other quarterbacks, I paid $14 for Lamar Jackson. I think Kyler Murray went for $15.
With
Justin Herbert
Josh
went for
Allen.
22 or something like that.
Yeah,
And I
that sounds all right.
I mentioned it the night of the draft, but Sam was mocking Patrick Mahomes' voice, and I think that distracted people, and somehow it just the clock ran out and he went for $9. But that's a steal.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I think I was switched over and was looking at the Zoom videos at the time and thought I had no idea why you guys were talking about Patrick Mahomes other than they were making fun of you for looking like him.
Yep. Or
And
sounding. I
then
think it
all
was
of a
sounding.
sudden I switched back to see what was going on and Patrick Mahomes had gone for $9.
And of
And I
course,
and I had somehow gotten Dak Shepard for not Dak Shepard, the actor, Dak Prescott, for $1.
which was also that was nice too. And I think Libby ended up getting Aaron Rodgers for $2. But it's the quarterbacks are wild, but Patrick Mahomes, and of course he goes to Ross for $9. Just I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah. All right. Honorable mention. So I kind of went rogue with my honorable mentions here because from a dollar amount, they probably weren't necessarily steals, but I valued them higher. Pat yourself on the back. I had Darren Waller for 15
All right.
because what was it yesterday? It got reported that he just reported to practice for the first time and that his injury was basically holding out.
Hold out. Yep.
So he's not actually injured. He just started practicing, which means that you probably got a top 3 tight end for $15.
There's a lot of mouths to feed on the Raiders offense, but I feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah, but Derek Carr Derek Carr, when I think about him, it's like him and Joe Flacco. When I think about them, I only think about them throwing to tight ends over the middle on like short curls because they're like, I can't make that throw. I can't make that throw. Okay.
I will be happy if that ends up happening.
And then my super out of left field, but I want to run this one by you just because I thought it was really interesting, is DeAndre Hopkins for $12.
That one's interesting. Yes.
Now, you have to wait 6 weeks to play him, but I believe we found out that he could be put on the IR. So you're not wasting a bench spot with him. And you're going to get a number 1 wide receiver halfway through the season. And I believe, whose team was he on?
He's on Seth's team.
Seth's team. I think Seth's team is going to be decent enough that he can wait for Hopkins to come in and then make like a pretty good run into the playoffs.
It's a good stash because
Yeah.
it only matters in fantasy. Really, the second half of the season is what matters. And I think if you have someone coming into a lineup that's going to be healthy because he'll have sat out for that long, I feel like that could be a steal.
Yeah. All right. Overpay of the draft. So our first negative category, I think this will be our only negative category.
Gotta stay positive, but sometimes be negative.
Exactly. So I had two here.
Okay,
It was
I've
really
got one.
tough to find overpay the draft because most of the players we overpaid for. So, and there wasn't any that was that outrageous. Well, I found one that was pretty outrageous.
All right, let's go.
All right. It's what his first name's DeAndre Swift.
Mm, on
DeAndre
Libby's team.
Swift.
Oh wait, no, that wasn't Libby.
No, Rams paid
Rams, that's right.
$59 for him, valued at 41. $18 higher. It was the highest one I could find. So that's
Yeah,
what I went for.
yeah, he's not like in that elite tier of running backs, but he drafted him like he was one of them. I think you could compare to a Dalvin Cook who only got drafted for 57. And I would rank a healthy Dalvin Cook over DeAndre Swift.
Well, the Lions just aren't going to be good. And how many fantasy points can you get when your team is not good?
That's true. Sorry, Libby.
Like at least the Vikings are going to be like good, or at least their offense is going to be good. So Dalvin Cook at that number is fine.
Yeah, and I think so. This is reasonable logic for my overdraft, which is Christian McCaffrey at $71. Gets injured, and he's on a bad team. I think if you can guarantee that he's healthy all year, $71 is a good investment, but it's just too big of a risk.
Yeah, SI had a 61. So it's a $10 overpay.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I kept hearing in the podcast and stuff that I listened to on fantasy football and ranking players and stuff like that is Christian McCaffrey every single time that he's played 17 games, or at least 90% of the games, is the best fantasy football player of all time.
When he's healthy.
So, yeah. I mean, you're rolling the dice, but it's one of those where like 50% of the time you win your league. Now,
Yeah.
the other 50, you are like me last year and end up second to last because, you know, your best players just didn't play.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it an overpay. You're just taking a risk.
Yeah, I just don't think he was going to go for any less than that amount. So
No.
I don't know. That would be my argument against it being called an overpay, but it's your pick.
That it is.
My runner-up was, and it wasn't one of the higher. It was like right in the middle of the overpays, and it was a owner and his favorite team, and it's Tom with Javonte Williams for $39.
That's yeah.
I think he's gonna split carries. I don't like the fact that Melvin Gordon is second in the backfield, and if you look back at his stats over the last couple of years, he's a really solid running back that scores like 6 touchdowns or more every year. And if they are gonna even get close to splitting carries, that's gonna cut whatever the projection for Javonte Williams touchdowns like in half.
Yeah, that's a tough handcuff. I think $40 is a steep price, but I mean it's your favorite team. If you wanted them, you got them. That's right.
Yeah, running back or quarterback on your favorite team being on your fantasy team is rough. The wide receiver I can get past a little bit more just because it's kind of random. So you can't just be like, oh, what's going on? It's like, well, maybe he had a good cornerback that week, but running back is ridiculously tough.
Yeah, it's just hard to own players for teams that you root for. I try to do it, but it's agonizing.
All right. And the moment you've all been waiting for is the way too early power rankings for the league. Let's go 12 through 7 to
Yep.
start. We'll compare 12 through 7 first. So I have at 12 Krantz.
Hey, me too. Sorry, Krantz.
All right. I figured we'd agree on that. It was kind of our bit last year to just keep Matthew at the bottom the entire time. This year, I mean, his first week projection is the lowest. I think he was a 103. I think the next closest was 106. So it's kind of tight there for basically just the initial, what are we projecting the team that you just drafted for? And I just don't like his team. And the overpay of the draft was DeAndre Swift. And if he's your highest paid player, and according to me, you probably overpaid for him by like $10, I think you're probably going to end up at the bottom of the list. Now, hey, happy day. ESPN projected him to finish like 6th. So
Hey,
maybe I'm the crazy one.
he's
You picked him too.
I did. So I think, I mean, sorry, Kranz, you gotta make us not make fun of you. And I think he did this last year, but he drafts all of the rookie wide receivers. He's got Traylon Burks, George Pickens, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, Drake London. He also got James Cook, which I just think is hilarious. Like, nicely done. But he's got all of the rookies, and I mean, maybe one of them will work out, but probably none of them will.
Yeah. All right, then at number 11, I had myself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think I said at the start that I would wait to complain about my team for a little bit. I'm going to do it a little bit now. I do not like Josh Jacobs as my running back 1. That is pathetic in my opinion. AJ Dillon is such a reach for RB2. And then I did not want Devontae. I will openly admit that. I was in a bidding war. I was trying to get his number where I wanted, and I ended up probably paying $5 more than I really wanted to for him. And would rather maybe split that and made Hunter Renfrow a better player and my second wide receiver maybe a little bit less. But I mean, my entire team depends on whether or not Trey Lance is worth $15. If he stinks and is not worth $15, then done. Because most of the other teams are paying like probably on average $5 for their quarterback at the end of the day, with all the $1 ones that go.
But that's not too big of a difference in money. I think I have you higher because I think you did what you said you would do, and you got a lot of great wide receivers. And having 4 startable wide receivers in your lineup can make all the difference in just putting up a bunch of points. So that's why I have you higher. But your arguments are pretty valid.
Me that Justin Jefferson won't get hurt because I just doomed him. You know that I just doomed him.
I do know that. I mean, he was already kind of doomed. He's a Minnesota Viking wide receiver. They either get traded away or don't work out, but something's going to happen. And I don't think it's because you drafted them. You might have made it a little worse, but something's going to happen. I certainly hope not, because he's a fine human being.
All right. Number.
Oh, hang on. My
10.
number 11. My number 11
Oh, yeah.
is Stefan's team.
Oh, wow. I had him way higher.
And I think it comes for me. I'm gonna follow a similar vein in my early rankings. Is ranking your wide receivers. He's got Deontay Johnson, who's good, but I think he's hurt. DK Metcalf, who's on a terrible offense. Jacoby Myers, also on a terrible offense. There's no wide receiver 1 in this lineup, and Leonard Fournette was a good steal, and so was Najee Harris. But I don't know. It's just and there's not much depth on the bench here. Two QBs, Tua, Justin Fields, and Kyler Murray, all kind of the same quarterback. I'm just not seeing a lot of things I like here.
I love Kyler Murray this year. So I probably overrated. I think you're exactly right on the wide receivers. And it's going to come down to whether or not they're those type of wide receivers that even though they're on crappy teams, it goes, well, someone has to catch the ball when it's thrown. And for like DK Metcalf, I think that might end up being what it is, where it's like, well, there's no one else on the team that catches footballs. So DK Metcalf has to catch some footballs.
That's true. I guess we'll see, but I've got him pretty low for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get there, but he's definitely not in my bottom 7 or bottom what 6 we're starting with.
Okay.
Next I had Seth.
Okay.
I thought he got a pretty good deal with Stephon Diggs, and then he got the big one with Christian McCaffrey. But just like you were talking about before with the overpay, that's why I have him down here. Because I think that with Christian McCaffrey and the injury history, maybe he's not playing the whole year. That's going to keep him down. Aaron Jones is going to split time with AJ Dillon. Now he might see his receptions go up because our wide receivers are terrible in Green Bay. But that's, that is what it is there. And then he's banking on a wide receiving class of DeAndre Hopkins coming at some time, Rashad Bateman, pretty new second year in the league. And Hunter Henry's his tight end with Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think like what you're saying, I don't trust the wide receiver depth all that much. And Christian McCaffrey might get hurt. So that's down at number 9.
All right. Good argument. My number 10. I think we're on number 10. Or yeah. I think it's 10.
I think you have to do 10 and 9.
Okay.
Because so far I've had Crayons, me, Wes, and Steph.
Okay. So Wes was your number 10 also.
Yep.
Okay. So Wes is also my number 10. Kirk Cousins is his quarterback. I don't know if I need to say anything more. Yeah. Kirk Cousins is your quarterback, Wes. I'm sorry. My number 10 is myself. Just I don't know, not a great draft for me in my opinion.
You mean your number 9?
Yeah, my number 9. Numbers are hard. I was told there'd be no numbers in the power rankings. But getting Debo is probably the only thing that I like about my team. I didn't like getting Lamar Jackson, but he's in a contract year. Yeah, and my running backs are not great either.
Yeah, I actually had you for my number 8.
Okay.
So you can do your 9, but yeah, you're my 8. Or you,
Okay.
Yeah, you said you were number 9. So your number 8 is.
I am numbering my list. I was number 9.
Yep. So who's your number 8?
Tom.
We're pretty far off on that.
Which is fine because these are way early. But way early. I don't like Russell Wilson in Denver. I don't think it's going to be as good as everybody's hyping it to be. Who is even Cameron Brate at tight end? I don't know if that's a real person. And Brandon Cooks in the starting lineup's not great either. And we talked about Javonte Williams. So it's a good team, but just middle of the pack.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll get to Tom in actually quite a bit here. So my number 7 is Drew. This is kind of where it got tight, right in this area. Any of these like next 3, I could have probably put in any order. Drew talks like a Gettleman. Let me look at his team quick here to give some justification. Travis Etienne, I don't believe in him at all. Waddle, I don't really believe in. Judy, I mean, there's a lot of good wide receiving talent in Denver, so that might get spread out quite a bit. TJ Hawkinson, not a chance. Like, he stinks. And then just not a lot of high quality talent, a lot of pretty like guys that'll be average to above average, but I don't think he has any like superstars except for, potentially Joe Mixon. But Joe Mixon was one of those running backs. I think Sam was talking about it where you have him on your team and you're like, oh, this guy's not that great. And then at the end of the year, he's a top 3 running back.
I think that's a fair assessment. My number 7 was Sam, actually, Rodabaugh.
Wow. Yeah. We flipped a bunch.
We probably are just looking for different things, but great team name, by the way. But I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. Jonathan Taylor was another sort of overpay, even though it'd be good. Having Tony Pollard as your second running back, it's just I think there's potential here, but there's just no studs.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to pick it up, or else we're gonna get timed out of our own.
Yeah, we have 6 minutes left.
All right. My numbers. I'll do 654.
Okay.
Lucas, number 6. Stefan, number 5. So we were off by 5 there, but I like his team. Again, the Leonard Fournette for $15. He got a really good value there. I think he was able to spread the wealth out pretty well with that extra savings there. And then this is probably the lowest we're ever going to rank him. It's Ross at 4.
Wow. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Also, I was gonna put in that we should pick our favorite names, but not everyone had them in, so I didn't want like someone who was late to it just throwing out a banger.
We'll save that one.
My top 2 right now are Ross with Slick Chrome American Pits and Drew with Talks Like a Gentleman.
Yes, I think those are my top 2 also. I think Drew's might be my favorite.
I probably would lean towards Drew.
Yeah, me too. There you go, Drew. Nicely done. 6 for me. I have you at 6. You're in the middle of the pack. I think I like your wide receiver choices. So I think that moves you up.
Projected at 10th.
Okay. My number 5 is Libby, and then number 4 is Drew. I have Drew a lot higher than you do. I think I just
I said anyone from my like 4 through 7. I mean, flip them around, but I thought they were all even on their projected scores, they're all like 116.
Yep.
So they're all pretty there too.
Yep. All right. Top 3.
All right. Number 3, Tom.
Who I had lower. But go ahead. Make your case.
I thought that he spread his team out really well with the savings that he got on Jamar Chase. I really like Michael Pittman and Javonte, even though I think he's going to be splitting carries and stuff like that, and is probably running back 2. I think Zeke is a running back 1. Brandon Cooks, all he does is get 1,000-yard seasons. And then I think Cordell Patterson for $8 is kind of a steal at the end if they treat him similar to what he did last year. Number 2, Sam. Now, Sam probably doesn't deserve to be this high, but at the same time, all he does is top 3 finish every single year. Like, it's the Ross corollary. And I basically swapped. I was debating between 2 with Ross and Sam, threw Sam in there and bumped Ross down. And then my number 1, always start the year pandering. It's Libby. Love Libby's team a bunch. Austin Eckler is great. I mean, you're just going to get me all the time with Rodgers for $2. Tyreek Hill's great. Mike Evans, I had him last year, super solid all the way through if he's your wide receiver too. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another case of someone trying to catch the ball. And then Juju Smith for 19 as your like 4 wide.
It's hard to argue. It's always good to talk up the commissioner. That's a solid choice. All right, my top 3. I have Seth number 3. quickly making the case. The top half of his lineup is great. The bottom half sucks, but I think the top half is really, really good, and sometimes that's all you need. I think Justin Herbert's the best quarterback. He's going to be the best quarterback this year, top one, even more than Mahomes. And then number two is Lucas. I feel like I always like Lucas's teams. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
Lucas, you just always have great teams. And yeah, I think the only question mark in your lineup is Alan Lazard, but he's wide receiver one on Green Bay, so that could be a good pick too. And then number one is Ross. It's always Ross. I don't want to do it, but it's Ross.
I mean, someone had to do it. I'm glad you did it. I didn't. But
He's got Mahomes for
just like
$9, and
uh, just like you said, Lucas is always your sucker pick that you fall in love with his teams. I mean, it's the same with me and Sam's teams. So that makes sense for them being the number two, that we understand our bias and didn't put them one, but we had to put them two.
yes, that's true. I mean, we joke about the white wide receivers, but he's got Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen. Those are the two that you want, and Kyle Pitts too. It's just, and Elijah Mitchell's, I think, the number one running back in San Francisco. It's just a solid lineup up and down, and I don't want to wish injury upon human beings, but man, Ross is gonna be hard to beat this year.
All right. Well, those are the way too early power rankings. Libby and Ross, congratulations. You are the number one seeds going into this. I don't think we'll have one next week because football will not have started. So we'll see you all in 2 weeks. I was thinking for a guest possibility, the person with the most points in the week could either send us a recording of bragging for winning that week, basically, or we'd have them on Thursday nights we're planning to do this on as our guest.
Yep. Giddy up. Football.
All right.
Goodbye.
Peace.